The NBA Finals between the Nuggets and the Heat, man. Have the Heat ran out of options? We're going to talk about that with today's guest, Jay Crossover, Jamal Crawford, on the show, reporting live from the 305. Also, we'll talk about the latest NBA offseason rumors and news, and we'll take a look at that 2019 draft class, man. Zion and Ja and the news. We're going to revisit that 2019 draft class, man. So lock in, hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Another one for the NBA report, man. CP the franchise, Alex Rotaros, JC, how you feeling, man?
I'm great. How you doing, bro?
Good, man. Always a pleasure to have you on the show, man. And we definitely appreciate your time. Down there in Miami, Nuggets up 2-1 in the series. And in Game 3, we saw what might have been one of the best two-man games, I mean, in maybe finals history or in a long time, between Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, man. Two players with 30-point triple-doubles, just absolutely dominant in that Game 3. Mike Malone took him to task, wanted the whole team to play better after they let down in Game 2, and their two stars responded, man. What did you see out there from Jokic and Murray in that Game 3, man?
They were dominant right from the start. Obviously, Miami got off to a quick start. And then Murray, he's that guy that when he's making tough shots, it settles everybody else. And he kind of kept them, weathering the storm. He provided points. He kept them in the game until they found their rhythm. Then Joker took over. And when those two got it going, like you said, it's becoming legendary. You know what I mean? So for those two, I think you'll see more of the same. But I think Miami will make an adjustment, maybe to see play more zone, maybe to, say the other guys, you two proved you can beat us. The other guys have to prove they can do it. So I think you'll see adjustments. And for some reason, I think Miami wins tonight.
From one bucket getter to watching another, man, just watching Jamal Murray out there, I mean, just absolutely cook. I expected a big game out of him in Game 3 after, Game 2 was kind of quiet until the end of Game 2. But in Game 3, he just erupted. I mean, what is it like when you see a guy like that get into a zone? What is that like when you're out there on the court, man?
Yeah, it's crazy because that person becomes a bigger monster. You know what I mean? It's like they start growing and become from 6'5" to 7 feet because they just become dominant. And when he makes the tough shots, he feels like he can make anything. Like he never loses confidence. He never wavers. Kobe is his favorite player ever. So obviously, you always try to emulate your favorites, but he really believes it. It's not like a fake confidence. Like he's really going for it. And for him, he's the head of the snake for them. He gets them going, scoring wise, and they get in their rhythm. Joker gets involved. He gets everybody else involved. And then that's when they're off and running. I think he has to be the focus. Joker is who he is. You're not going to stop him. You can only try to limit him and contain him so much. But Jamal Murray's the head of the snake when it comes to scoring because Joker don't want to score like that anyway. Like he's trying to get 15 assists, 15 rebounds, and I'll just fall on 30 points. Like he's not trying to go get it. So that's what makes him so special. But Jamal Murray's definitely the head of the snake.
Now, Jay Crossover, man, I got a question for you about this performance that we saw, right? Because we talked about the two guys, Jokic and Murray. Do you think that this is what they have to do on a nightly basis in order for the Nuggets to win the series? Or are we looking for, or are we going to see more of like the role players come through?
Well, I think that depends on how Miami adjusts. Like if Miami plays zone from the start, it's going to have to be the role players because obviously Denver will probably counter that by putting Joker in the middle, but that's still him taking 15-foot shots when nobody else is touching the ball. Joker doesn't want to score like that. When he scored 40 and had 4 assists, he probably felt like he's being selfish. You know what I mean? So he doesn't want to score like that. So if you're making him a scorer away from the basket, I think that bodes well for Miami. And it takes Joker and Jamal, that two-man pick and roll that's so deadly, right? But the other guys will have opportunities. It's more so if they'll make shots. Michael Porter Jr. has to make shots. Aaron Gordon, has played at a high level. Jeff Green's been a great piece off the bench. So it's about the other guys making shots if that's the road Miami wants to go. And if I'm them, that's the road I'm going. Because these two prove that they can carry a series. They've been number one all year. But these other ones, not that they can't prove it, but I think I'll take my chances with them making shots consistently.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Michael Porter.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned Michael Porter Jr. I'm also looking at KCP as well. What would you say those two guys have to do in order to get back into rhythm?
Yeah, I think Denver's at their best. To me, both these teams play true basketball. Like they play real basketball, how you would teach kids. I coach kids, so I know as far as how I'm trying to implement what we do. I don't want to always just get in your bag. I want you to play with the team. And these two play the highest level of team basketball. Denver just maybe play a higher level of what Miami does, right? Because they have those pieces we talked about. So for me, I think if they get stops, they get out and run, you get KCP an easy layup. You get Michael Porter Jr. an easy layup. Get him to the free throw line. Once you see the ball go through, if you're a shooter or a scorer that one time, two times, now in your mind, you're hot. You know, it puts you back in rhythm and kind of resets you. And I think that's what those two they look to do. Get some easy ones early.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned those two guys. Those two guys have been struggling from three, but luckily Aaron Gordon has chipped in. I like the way that Denver got back to utilizing their size to really take advantage of this game. You see Gordon and Jokic get the rebound, be a one-man fast break, pushing it ahead, getting guys involved. They did a good job of sealing against smaller defenders and really establishing themselves in the post. And then you got a Christian Brown who didn't play much.
Was he playing like York on the blacktop playing with y'all? He playing with
playing with force, man. I like the way he attacked that game and not settling for, the corner threes and really finding the gaps in the zone, making a good job of cutting and then finding him, man. What was your impression of Christian Brown in game 3?
That he's fearless. Like he plays like he belongs out there. And I asked him, we had him on the set, and I asked him, was there a certain point in the season when you kind of knew you gained your teammates' trust? When you know you would be out there for these moments? And he was like, yeah, I could kind of tell, everything was built with good habits. And those habits, are carrying me right now. So for me, it's no thinking. I'm just out there playing. I'm out there hooping, trying to help the team win. And he's giving them a great lift. You have to, his energy is worth more than just points. He's out there. He's flying around. He's being fearless. He's attacking the basket. He's attacking the rim. He's attacking rebounds. Like he's just out there playing. He's out there in the finals game, in the finals series. I think that's big time.
Yeah, I said when you watched him play, it felt like he was, even though he had 15 points, it felt like 30 just because when he stepped out on the court, he's just tenacious.
Absolutely. He'll keep going, and they have to somehow get a hold of him because he's not a guy that's you're going to run offense through, but he's a connector. He can fill in the gaps. He can play with stars. So the stars want him out there. He's going to run. He's going to sprint the court. He's going to dunk and look at the crowd and tomahawk. You know what I mean? So he got some swag with him too.
This is the NBA Report. So to everybody in the chat, man, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Special guest Jamal Crawford in the building, reporting live from the 305. And speaking of Miami, Jamal, I just felt like in this series, because Denver's a better team, the more complete team, you really need everything to go right for the Miami Heat. That three-point shooting has to be there, especially from their role players. Vincent, Strus, and even Martin weren't themselves in this game, in game 3. Butler and Bam have been able to carry things, but it almost seems like, I don't want to say they're out of options, but when Jokic and Murray are cooking in this way, Denver shot 29% from 3, but still dominated, especially into the paint. I mean, how does Miami get themselves back into this thing starting tonight?
Well, if I'm Miami, I'm saying, you know what? We're going to play our zone more on defense. On offense, we were right there. Like, it was a 4-point game in the second quarter. It was tight the whole time. Yeah. And something that was small, but to me it was big, and I said it when it happened. When Gabe Vincent got those back-to-back fouls, I would have challenged the second one. I just would. I know
the one on Aaron Gordon.
Yes, and the one he got the second one on Joker though.
Okay. Yes. It
was like in a 10-second span, he had 2 fouls, and I would challenge the second one. And I know Spo was thinking it's going to be a tight game. We'll need that challenge, but Gabe Vincent brings so much to you offensively. Right now, he can account for 5, 6, 7 points, a couple threes, a layup. He can get you 8 points right here that you may not need on the back end, and it keeps him in rhythm because he's one of their guys. They need him going. He's their pistol starter. He got to go, and so if he's not going, it's going to be tough on you. And don't forget, they still have that Tyler Hero card in the bag. Like who knows what that looks like. So, I think Miami pulls it out. I think they'll be in a better rhythm today. I think Jimmy will be more aggressive. And it's not all bad. Like, obviously, it ended up being a bad game in the fourth quarter. But in the third quarter, really got away from them. Fourth quarter ended up being a bad game. That second quarter, that first 2 quarters, it was tight.
Do you think Hero makes an appearance at some point this series?
I believe so.
The whole thing is like, rhythm, everything. You don't want to throw off the whole chemistry.
Yeah, but the thing about it, Alex, is the fact that he's doing something for you guys because he's coming back to your team. But don't think they're not playing out that emotion too. Man, if Hero comes, how are we going to prepare for it? Ain't nobody seen him in a while. We know he's a bucket. We know he can get going. What if he comes out and gets you – don't say he doesn't play a lot of minutes. What if he comes out and gets you 8 points in 5 or 6 minutes and gives them a lift to give them confidence, to get them back on track? Like, that's a weapon. And I'm not saying you use that weapon at all times and you mess up anybody else's rhythm. But you guys know in the playoffs, something can happen in the regular season, and you're like, man, why am I playing? This dude shooting all the shots, whatever, whatever. Playoffs come and that dude get going, you're on the bench standing up. You don't even know how you got there, but you're just happy for your team. Let's get it. Give it to him. Let's go. So it's more about winning or whatever it takes to win at this point.
Do you think, Butler had 28 points in this last game, and I think throughout the series he's been facilitating well and really just trying to get others involved and really trusting his teammates, especially after game one. He went right back to him in game two and was rewarded. But do you think there's another level he may need to get to help this team win, especially when you just don't know what you're going to get from, Vincent has been pretty good in this playoffs, but you never know from role players, from a Vincent to a Martin to a Strus. Do you think Jimmy has another level he can get to really help carry the load for them and get them over the hump?
He definitely has another level. I think you'll see it going forward. Jimmy, I played with him a year in Minnesota, and what I learned about him was, for as big of a superstar as he is, he's just as happy being unselfish. And I'll be robbing. I'm not tripping. It's all good. I'll fill in the gaps. Don't forget, Jimmy was like a JUCO kid. Like, he came up in the JUCO. He came up the hard way. It wasn't like he was a prodigy from fifth grade. Like, this dude's going to be a superstar. Like, it was like, nah, he did it ugly. He got it out the mud for real. So he that's his foundation. That's who he is. So he'll turn it up for sure. And then the other guys will play better because of that. And I just think even the points he got late, I think he found something. I think he found his spots. He found some openings. He found, some things where he could be effective. So I think you see more of that going forward.
Let's talk about the other superstar on the Miami Heat team, Bam Adebayo. Is there anything that Bam can do to stop Jokic? Because as of right now, Jokic, obviously you mentioned earlier, he can do whatever he wants on the court, but is there something that Bam can do to adjust or do more offensively to really put Jokic on his heels?
I think whenever you go side to side with the ball and then attack, I think it bodes well for you. The defense has to move. They're not set. Joker has to move from that outlet. Okay, now I got to close out over here. Now I got to close out here. Now I got to run a pick and roll. So I think whenever you go side attack, and then side attack and keep that rhythm going with some movement first, and you can get downhill and get some looks and probe and get your shooter shots, I think that's better for you if you're the Miami Heat. And if I'm Bam, I'm trying to be involved in every single screen. I'm trying to be involved in every single handoff. I'm trying to be involved in every single flare screen. Whatever it is, I'm trying to be involved just to work him as much as possible.
And lastly, for the Heat, man, defensively, because I don't think they started the game off with the zone, but I do think they may go to more zone in this game because, Jokic and Murray, they just, it was easy offense for them to start. They were getting into the middle of the paint. They were able to get their dribble penetration and just move off of that. You put 2 on Murray, and then all of a sudden you leave Jokic 4 on 3, and this is playground basketball. This is a layup. So I mean, how do you think Miami starts defensively in this game?
Zone. If you think about it, and I said this in the Boston series, you don't see zone in the NBA a lot, and so when you see zone a lot, they can mix it up. And by the way, they have more than one variation in the zone. It's
right.
a 2-3, it's 2, it's a 1-3-1.
Right.
So you're doing all trying to find the spots and you're fighting the clock. So if you let Jamal and Joker play, what I mean by that is let them play their pick and roll, you're dead because they've seen that a million times. They've mastered that. So you have to dictate what you're willing to give up with that not being part of their menu, right? And so I think you see zone more often. I think you see different variations. When Miami went up 3-0 and then they was in that 7th game, they came right out in zone because that's what got them there in that staple. So we'll see if they do that tonight.
This is the NBA Report. We're talking to our guy, Jamal Crawford, a.k.a. Jay Crossover. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. JC, when you spoke about that series with Miami and the Celtics in that pregame show, Kenny Smith talked about how he felt that energy. And for the first time in a while as a retired player, he missed it. He missed the game. Is that the same? Do you get that same feeling now that you cover in these series? You covered the East Finals. You cover in the finals now. Do you kind of miss it?
CP, when I get that feeling, I go hoop. I hoop. Go to my score. I hoop. I'm hooping. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I miss it for sure, but I enjoy talking to it. Like, I'm out of the space, and I stopped playing so much for that because I would still be like, why am I playing this much? I'm not getting a call, right? And I'm like, nah, I got to let it go. So I started playing just a couple times a week. Now it's therapeutic. Now it's fun. It was always fun, but it's no like, okay, there's a call. I'm waiting for another end of this. Like, I can just go hoop. fun. And go to my story, CP. I was throwing off the backboard. I was still getting jiggy out there.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, they showed the on Instagram. It was going around when you were hooping. I guess it was in Miami or Boston, and Spoelstra and Caron Butler and those guys will watch you in the pickup game with those guys.
Yeah, that was in Boston. So for me now, it's like when I hoop all over the country, right? Wherever I'm at, I hoop. So I have my shoes with me, everything with me, and I just pop up random gyms.
Nice.
I look at it like Andre 3000 playing his flute. He may be in the airport. You may
That's it, man. Final two quick ones for you. You know, Adam Silver did say that expansion is a possibility into new territories. Obviously, everybody wants the Seattle Supersonics to come back. What role do you see yourself playing in kind of being an advocate to bring the team back to the Emerald City?
Well, my role for now is just my voice. Like, just knowing that everything in Seattle is kind of waiting on the Sonics, right? Like, that's what I grew up watching. That's what kind of helped shape and mold my dreams. So I know what it would do for this generation of kids who had never seen an NBA game in person, who had never seen the Sonics or seen Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp and Ray Allen and all these guys. So for me, you know, fingers crossed that if expansion does come up, we're one of those cities that are, you know, is officially back for, because we've been waiting on it. And then, you know, we'll see where it goes from there.
And final question for you, man. Once a Knick, always a Knick. You got a chance to see a full season of this squad. The introduction of Jalen Brunson on the national stage. The acquisition of Josh Hart. This team finishing 2 games away from the Eastern Conference Finals. How do you look back on that Knicks season, and what do you think they need to do to get to where the Miami Heat are, get to where the Nuggets are, and ultimately contend for a chip?
It was a great season. They're in great position because they're so young. Now they have a real foundation and culture they built. I would truly believe Jalen Brunson will be the reason that the Knicks get really, really good players moving forward. I don't know if it'll be this off season, being, you know, after that, but the fact that anybody trying to win and you see him, you're like, oh, he's about winning. He's a culture dude. He'll do what it takes to win. And you want to play with guys like that. And I think that's attractive for any free agent. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, man. Well, JC, we appreciate the time. Great job on NBA TV and TNT, man. I'm watching you on every pregame and postgame. Excellent job out there. Suits are looking crispy as well, man. So keep doing your thing, man.
It's credit for the suits for sure. I have no suit swag whatsoever, so she gets all the credit.
No doubt, man. JC, stay healthy, stay blessed, man. Thanks.